On Sunday, May 31st, we are going to be experiencing a full moon in Sagittarius on a Sagittarian degree, no less. So, some of the themes that we're going to be dealing with throughout this full moon and the following 2 weeks are going to be a sort of tug of war between the themes of Gemini versus Sagittarius, facts versus belief, logic versus wisdom, skepticism versus faith. And since oppositions are typically external in nature, it's likely that we are going to face these themes against someone else, meaning that perhaps we are the ones trying to maintain optimism and faith, and someone else is coming at us with more of a cool headed, logical, fact based perspective. Or perhaps we are the ones who are trying to come at somebody else with a cool headed, logical perspective when somebody else is perhaps not considering all the facts in the situation. However, if you are the one on the Sagittarius side of things where you find yourself bursting with optimism and perhaps wanting to chase after a long standing goal, this is very much supported actually, because this full moon in Sagittarius is forming trines to Neptune and Saturn in Aries. We could be feeling an urge to follow our dreams, to live according to our own principles, to trust the universe with our plans and not get too caught up in logic. Our faith is backed up by our intuition and practicality, which oftentimes are very hard to find a balance in. So this is really the right time to sort of go for something. However, it is worth mentioning that Saturn is also forming a sextile to the Sun. So while it's forming a trine to our faithful, optimistic moon, it's also forming a trine to the more logical, practical Gemini Sun. So what this translates to is that while, yes, we are being aided in our intuition and being encouraged to follow our dreams, what makes us feel emotionally fulfilled, there is also sound reasoning here with the person who's on the more practical side. So we can't close ourselves off from hearing what someone who's more practical and grounded and somebody who hits us with the facts, what they have to say. The perspectives of logic and faith both have merit. Nobody is wrong here. We also need to be careful about being too ruthless in our objectives, because Mars is forming a square to Pluto, and therefore we can have sort of a tendency to have a win, go after what we want to go after at all costs sort of energy, which can cause us to run roughshod over other people and not consider their perspectives so much. Not being sensitive to the perspectives of other people around you may cause your plans to backfire with a Mars square Pluto energy. Venus in Cancer is also forming a square to Saturn. So during these 2 weeks, these themes of optimism versus logic may revolve around family, may include family members. A strained pocketbook may be a good reason to also lean into the Gemini fact-based side of things. So having faith in our grand plans is supported by intuition and practicality. However, we can't run roughshod over other people to get there. We have to listen to them as well and integrate facts and logic into our optimistic plans as we go. Look to the house that this Sagittarius full moon falls in for you to gain a greater clarity as to where these themes of optimism versus logic, faith versus facts may crop up for you.